I'm Lauren Van Hamert, and I am with Michelle Bradley from the Duke Energy Center, one of my favorite places to see theater because there's so much theater and arts in that venue. I've seen everything from A Night with Janis Joplin to Star Wars concerts.
That
So,
sums it up.
yeah, pretty much. Oh, to Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I
Yes,
took my
yeah,
niece.
yeah. Our
um,
annual Christmas.
Yes, and it's so much fun. I took my niece 2 years ago to Rudolph, and she's 6, and I didn't take my daughter who was 16 at the time, and my daughter was so bummed. And so this past year, my daughter said, "Will you take me to Rudolph?" And so I took my daughter to Rudolph. Um,
We love Christmas Town. It is awesome.
it's very fun. Well, I'm very interested to talk to you guys because you manage so many venues. And right before we came on, I did not realize, I thought it was just the Duke Energy Center itself, kind of proper. What I think of as Mimondi and Fletcher and the Kennedy Theater behind, and then all those offices for all those theaters that are in that complex. And then, of course, the symphony plays at Mimondi, but there's more to it. So tell me what you all oversee because I had no idea.
So the Duke Energy Center is a division of the city of Raleigh, and within our division, we have 4 venues: the Raleigh Convention Center, Red Hat Amphitheater, Walnut Creek Amphitheater, and then Duke Energy Center, which inside the Duke Energy Center, we also have 4 venues.
Mhm.
So Raleigh Memorial Auditorium, the Fletcher Opera Theater, Mimondi Concert Hall, and Kennedy Theater. So quite busy. And in Duke Energy Center, we host 650 performances a year. So we're quite busy.
Well, and so that kind of segues into my next question. I read a report from, and I'm going to pull up my notes so I quote who did it. It was a survey by the, of course, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was the American Center for the Arts or American Society for the Arts. But according to their survey, the economic impact of this pandemic on our industries, our arts and culture industries across the US is like $4.5 billion. So locally, how is this pandemic affecting the Duke Energy Center? I mean, there's a lot of events I've been scheduled to go to at your venue. Um,
So to date, we've canceled or rescheduled over 200 performances since March 13th, I think was the date that we had our last performance. So we've canceled or rescheduled all the way through the end of May. We haven't completely calculated how much that impact is yet. A lot of those are getting rescheduled. We've been able to reschedule about 70% of those performances. 30% have actually had to be canceled just because tours didn't work out, or whatever, graduations not happening, those type things. So we're still working on the actual impact of us. I'm estimating definitely in the millions, but we'll probably be able to have a better number on that once we have where they're going, if the shows are going to get rescheduled, and what that looks like. Our fiscal year ends in June, so we're almost, it's coming, it's approaching pretty quick.
you're almost done.
Right.
Well, and I know, just kind of for the record, some performances, I know North Carolina Theater
Mm-hmm.
has postponed and rescheduled all of their remaining season performances, which I'm so excited about,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to see all those shows. And I know Kennedy Theater has been kind of coming up with their contingency plans and rescheduling. So I'm happy that things are rescheduling, but it's not easy, right? When you have the ballet, the opera, all of the things that you're
and the
scheduling.
symphony. Mm-hmm. Of course, we try to work with our resident companies, and those that you mentioned are our resident companies, and trying to make sure that we help them with the rescheduling and the planning for their upcoming season and the shows that they're trying to, as we like to say, save, because patrons really want to see certain productions. So we're trying to work with those guys and make sure that we give them some dates in the following months where to start. You know, the governor just sent out or just updated his plan. And I think that we're falling into phase 2, but really, if to be honest, phase 3, because phase 2 has those restrictions on how many folks can attend. So that gives us a little bit of a, you know, how many people are going to really rent the facility and open their doors to a half of a house? Is that feasible financially for them? And then we're just going to try to make sure that it's safe. It's a safe environment. So we're just trying to make the best decision moving forward.
And I saw an article this morning that Actors Equity had just brought in somebody from OSHA to kind of help navigate how to keep people safe once the performers go back to work. Obviously, they're looking at it from the performer standpoint. So have there been those conversations on what's this going to look like when audiences come back to the Duke Energy Center?
Well, I am on calls daily with other venues across the country on what is their protocol. Does it work with our what we think that our protocol is going to be? How it extends from back of house to the patron side. We will protect our employees as much as possible, and that being backstage folks, and how we screen those people when they come in. You know, it's every day is. We're changing. I can say that. We have our protocols right now for the cleaning and what we're going to be doing. But I'm also asking our resident companies. We're collaborating on what's the best for them, because they know their patrons as well, way better than we do. And we want to make sure that we address their concerns, whether it's, you know, more bathroom attendance, you know, how does that look when you're using the restroom, and how does it look when you're buying a ticket on site? You know, to having, if we're putting a shield guard in front of the ticket counters, those type things, you know, like you see at the Target or grocery store. So we're working on what those look like when the rollouts come. So hopefully we'll be able to maybe host some meetings or some rehearsals, maybe not necessarily to the public for the first couple of weeks in that phase 2 opening, and just so our venue itself can get a handle on what to expect. And then that would be a lot of backstage working. But it's nice. I'm glad the Actors Equity is also looking and working with OSHA on what those protocols would be, because we too are looking at that.
Well, and it's not just protecting your audiences. It's like you said, it's protecting back of house and the performers on stage. It's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to get worked out.
Right.
When we talk about the economic impact, you know, when you have to reschedule 200 plus performances in this 7-week period that we've been navigating, you know, it's been like I think I calculated 7 or 8 weeks basically that we're into this thing. That trickles down, I feel like, to the wonderful restaurants downtown around you and the businesses. I know when I go with friends to the Duke Energy Center, we, you know, go to the bars, we go to the restaurants on Fayetteville Street. Benny Capitola's, I think that's the pizza place up there. If you haven't been there, they make pizza as big as, it's the biggest pizza I've ever seen. So if you order a whole pizza from there, just be warned. It's not 18 inches. It's like a giant pizza. So I've been there a few times too. What is the economic in those businesses? What's happening on Fayetteville Street?
So the city is really trying to help those businesses. You know, the Economic Development Department has come up with some new grant opportunities to help some of those small businesses. And that came out last week during council. And, you know, I mean, we know that we help drive some of that, those customers going into those restaurants and bars, as well as the convention center. I mean, when the convention center doesn't have a convention, the hotels, and the really see the hit, as well as the bars and the restaurants. So, you know, I think we'll be working with the CVB and see what that economic impact looks like once we're through all of this. I think, I mean, we're getting the numbers, you know, but we like to make sure that they're true and not just a shot in the dark.
Of course.
So I think that with us working, you know, being a part of the city and coming up with some things that we can help these businesses out is really great. I know that some of them are thinking outside of the box. The Residence Inn is coming up with family meals that you can have for the weekend, which I was like, this is an awesome idea. You know, the hotel is actually doing some food that you can take home, and it's good Southern home comfort food, from fried chicken and meatloaf and those type things, which was really, I was like, oh, thank God.
And Brugaloo kind of restructured how they did. You know, Brugaloo is a big event downtown, Moore Square area, and they kind of restructured how they did their whole event, which I kind of loved.
Yes. Yeah. So I know that it's a challenge, and definitely thinking outside the on how we can all help each other. So it's really great for us to be a part of the city, and that we can help, you know, folks as well.
Well, and some people may argue with me on this. I know the Capitol is probably considered the centerpiece of town, but for me, the Raleigh Memorial Auditorium and the Duke Energy Center is the centerpiece of downtown. So now I know when we talk about reimagining how we deliver products to folks, a lot of we're doing virtual events, and I've seen a few virtual events on Duke Energy Center social media pages. So what kind of virtual events are being done?
So we're doing a lot of sharing. I mean, we partner with some of our folks at the Broadway League, and the National World has their content, and we're just partner with them and sharing theirs. But a lot of our resident companies, I mean, the symphony is continuing to do their educational programs and putting them on the web. And I know the ballet, Carolina Ballet, and North Carolina Theater are continuing to do their schooling via Zoom and their outreach programs. So, and then we're working with North Carolina presenters. They're doing some concerts, which is really great. I know that they had a festival,
Yes.
virtual festival over the weekend with some North Carolina artists. So that was really awesome. Just trying to keep our patrons engaged in the world of entertainment is really important to us.
And Lauren and Charlie will kill me if we don't put out a plug for the live concerts. Or they're doing the living room concert series once a week, so I want to put that out there too.
Yes, I love it, and I love seeing some of our folks that used to do Rudolph too. I saw Melvin Gray is on there, and so it's really great, and they do a really great job anyway on always interacting with the community, even outside of a pandemic. Theater Raleigh does, which is really nice.
They do. And I didn't realize this about Raleigh Memorial Auditorium, and obviously there's a lot of other theaters under that roof, but but the Raleigh Memorial Auditorium itself, I didn't realize that building has been there since 1932. So is there, what would surprise folks about the history of Raleigh Memorial Auditorium, or about the building itself, that maybe we don't get to see as audience members?
So as I started my journey with the building 22 years ago, I got to dig into a lot of the history of Memorial Auditorium. One of the things I found that was really great is we used to host the ACC basketball tournament in Memorial.
Oh, really?
Yes, and being a huge basketball fan, I found it really awesome. The house itself looked a lot different than it does now. We didn't have rake seating. It was a flat floor, but they played. Reynolds Coliseum was hosting ACC back then, and they were undergoing construction. So we hosted it. And we have pictures of NC State and Duke playing at the tournament on the stage. Is really amazing. Of course, no seating on the backside, so it was all front facing. But those pictures are really awesome. I'll try to dig them up and see if we can share them on some of our socials in the
Yes.
next weeks.
Oh, well, and I love like the history of the buildings. I didn't grow up in Raleigh. Like so many people, I moved here later. But, I love hearing kind of the historical backgrounds of some of these buildings, and just so that would be cool to share some of
Yeah.
those historical photos. Is there a ghost light there? We've been talking about ghost lights a lot. In any of your venues, because you have so many venues.
So you know, I'm sure they are, it's so weird. I get more freaked out on the new sides, like Fletcher side, by walking through the dark hallways than I do Memorial, which you would think it would be completely different. I feel very at home and at peace in Memorial. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the ghost part. But Fletcher itself is kind of there's something about it for me. I don't know others, but it's a little creepy when it's dark. But as we do our building walks, and security is in our building, they continuously tell me almost every week that we talk, it's just really weird with it being dark around here and nobody being around.
I would think because it's such a bustling place on
Yeah.
a normal day, on a norm,
Yeah.
whether you're buying tickets from any of the resident companies
Mhm.
or you're at the box office or and there's so many beautiful areas. When the marketing folks from Duke Energy and I were talking, they were reminding me, I did this interview with Garrett Clayton back for Snow White Christmas, and we did it in one of the ballrooms or one of the rooms upstairs. And I was like, this is really a beautiful facility. There's so much. Every time I think I've seen it all, I haven't.
Yeah. It's our staff does an amazing job at making our venue look beautiful and shining all the time, whether there's 7,000 folks in there on a given day on a weekend, touring around to it being empty, and it sparkles. I mean, right before we left, they put a nice coat of wax on the Memorial inner lobby, and shined up the brass, and it just sparkles. It literally sparkles. So I think it's not just me, but everyone that works in there, cherishes it and wants to make sure that it's just like their home or better than their home sometimes.
I was gonna say, the brass in my house, and there's not a lot of it. It's not sparkly right now.
Yeah, the staff is just amazing. I'm like, wow, they really put their heart and soul into it every day, from the cleaning staff, maintenance, all the way to the stagehands that are part-time. I mean, they're like, this is our home too. So it's really amazing to be a part of that team.
And yet, as big as it is, all of these different venues are so cozy. I think, when I've seen just North Carolina theater, as big as LA Memorial Auditorium is, a lot of those, it feels very intimate. All of those spaces feel very intimate. And they're all very different. They all have a very different personality to them, which I love. What is the Duke Energy Center doing now, kind of behind the scenes, to support the essential workers? We talked a little bit about the businesses downtown and our healthcare workers. I know that you guys have done some. I saw a picture where the outside of the building was blue.
Yes, it is blue right now. So we, being a division of the city, we got a call when we realized that things were going to be shut down from solid waste services, and asking for help. So we had some of our part-time stagehand guys that raised their hands. So we have 7 folks working in solid waste department right now. And they're doing anything from making masks to and checking temperatures on and doing their health check screenings every day, to helping the extra cleaning of the vehicles when they come back in, or just the facility itself. So I commend those 7 guys. They're really amazing. They were like, yes, we're all about going to just another hall. So, and then at home, our cleaning staff and our ushers are making masks for other departments in the city. So when we got those calls that they didn't have enough mask and equipment, our guys raised their hand not only to make them, but to donate the materials, which was really great. So I think that we've made around 300 masks so far. I think there's 9 folks sewing right now, all at their home. And then we have 2 of our part-time folks, they pick up and they deliver to whatever location that we need them. So really making sure that we help take care of our city of Raleigh folks, which is really, really great.
I know on social media platforms, especially when it comes to the Broadway houses, there's been all this discussion about, what this is going to look like when this is over, for people sitting by or, only selling 25% of the house, or whatever it looks like. But a lot of the folks I've spoken to inside the industry have said it's not really feasible from an economic standpoint. I mean, if you look at a venue like Fletcher, if you only sell every 5th seat, that's not a whole lot of seats in that house.
197.
Yeah. So is that even feasible to kind of imagine that in this new world?
For me, it's hard to wrap my mind around it, being a person that, wants to make sure that we make money. And I know how hard it is to even get to the break-even number for a lot of performing arts, which usually is in the 60 to 80% category of houses. So when you're saying, oh, you could only sell 20-30% of that house, I know that it's just going to be, well, we're just going to wait until the house opens. Otherwise, they're just going to do it to skew it more of a open dress rehearsal per se. So I know that we'll be working with the resident companies, I think, a lot to try to, test the waters and see what works for them. But I assume that a lot of our clients will probably wait until we're able to open that house. Maybe not to 100%, but at least to a 60% house or something like that. Because then, like you said, the numbers is really, really hard. Yeah. And then it's hard on the actors. I mean, playing to a 200 house, although it might be better than just a Zoom. Having the audience via virtual, and get the energy in that space is also a part that I think that they look towards.
If somebody has a ticket for any of the things that were happening at Duke Energy Center, as we've navigated, we're now in this for another few weeks. So if somebody had a ticket for anything happening in the next few weeks, and I know you and I talked about, I was really looking forward to the David Foster concert this week. What should they do? Is there a game plan? Should they call the box office? Who should they call for that?
So they should be getting contacted from either the client or the presenting company or us, telling them what's going on with their show. Like I said, 70% of them are getting postponed, in which the ticket would be able to be used on the next show. With nothing, they don't have to do anything. For those that are being canceled, It's about a 30-day window right now, and it's just because of the backlog of us trying to get everything processed on getting your refund. So you'd get a full refund onto your form of credit for those canceled shows. For folks that, can't see themselves going to a show, for whatever the date is, they reach out to that actual company that was presenting it. If it was North Carolina Theater or the David Foster World, but that one was canceled, then they can reach out and talk about the options there. And each company, I think, is working on different options. So.
Is there a website for the Duke? And I'll put it in the episode notes. So does Duke Energy Center have kind of a central website where they have a listing of what's been postponed, what's been canceled?
It has been updated on our calendar events. So Duke Energy Center Raleigh.com, and I think right there it shows the calendar listing, and it actually states what's been canceled, postponed, and then the new date of the rescheduled performances.
Absolutely. So what, you have a real finger on the pulse of what's happening downtown. Because like I said, for me, you guys are the centerpiece, although I know the folks at the Capitol will argue with me.
Thank you for that.
But so what can folks in our community do right now to support the local businesses and support the Duke Energy Center as we kind of navigate these uncharted waters?
Yeah. I think that continuing to support our local companies, the resident companies, if you are able and financially if you're not able to go to the show that's being postponed, maybe donating that money back to them. Do takeout orders for the hotel or hotels. I say hotels as a resident or a residence inn, and restaurants. I mean, because they're still open. They're doing curbside service, and some of them are actually delivering to your doorstep, which is really great. If you're sick of making your own food, it gives you a different option. But really, I mean, and they're doing so much stuff, engaging with those those artists, not only companies, but artists themselves on their social platforms is really something that they need that interaction as well. I think that is important. And then for the venue, we're going to be there. We're going to try we're going to be there to support and to give back any way that we possibly can.
Historically speaking, I mean, you've been there for the last 22 years. And like I said, Raleigh Memorial has been there since 1932. Has there ever been a time where there's been a shutdown like this, where the venue has had to just completely close for this amount of time?
So the only other time was when we were expected to get that huge hurricane. What was it, 2 years ago? And we shut down for a weekend. That was the very first time in my 20 years that we had ever closed the doors. Mm-hmm. And then the hurricane didn't happen, which we were all thankful for, prepared. But we were even open during the ice storm back in 2001 or 2. Yeah. We hosted it was horrible. It was crazy, but the boat show still went on at the convention center and river dance still went on at Memorial. The shows went on. So it was crazy. And right now this is completely uncharted territory for me. So it's really history in the making.
Well, and all of the venues are so joyful to go. I've seen concerts or plays or shows at all of these venues. And so I can't wait to get back. I told you before we went on camera, I find the Duke Energy Center to be one of the most accessible places to bring my mom. My mom is my care partner so often. And from an accessibility standpoint, she can't really walk very far and she gets kind of shaky and wobbly. And, just all of the services you have to get folks from the parking areas, whether it's the parking deck or parking lot across the street, to the front of the building, whether you're seeing something at Fletcher, you're seeing something at Raleigh Memorial Auditorium. It's a very accessible space, very easy space for people to come to. And I see everything from Bear in the Big Blue House to the Wiggles when my kids were little to A Night with Janis Joplin last year to Kinky Boots a couple months ago. So
well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. We always try to make sure that we're accessible for all and welcoming to all. So it's a great feedback from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Guys, if you're watching on Facebook, please support the downtown businesses so that they're there when we get on the other side of this pandemic. And I know a lot of our followers are theater goers, and I know they will be the first ones at the theater when things open. So we'll just keep an eye on what you guys are doing in your social media. I'll put the social media links and the we have a question actually, but I will put all the links to the social media platforms and to the website so people can find it. We do have a question from somebody following us on Facebook. Moses wants to know, do you expect insurance payments to increase when COVID-19 fears moving forward?
There was a little breakup, so you're going to have to repeat it. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Don't you love technology? His question, Moses's question is, do you expect your insurance premiums to increase given this current pandemic and the fears moving forward?
I think for the building side, we will continue the same request for insurance purposes, and that's really just to ensure that the building doesn't get damaged. But that's a hard question. I'm not in the insurance business.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully it won't.
Hopefully not.
And and I don't know the answer to this question either, but does the Duke Energy Center receive grant monies, and has that been impacted by this?
We don't. I mean, we're owned and operated by the city of Raleigh. So we're sustained financially from our rent that when we rent the facility, and then we get a little bit of subsidy from the general fund. But otherwise we're self-sustaining in everything else with just the rent aspect and what we charge, for whoever rents the facility.
And I know one big thing that was going to be happening, and I'm going to actually reach out to Sarah Corin to talk to her more about this, was the LEAD conference was supposed to happen, I think, at the convention center in August. So I hope that'll still happen because it was a big deal thing. Ooh, Michelle, you kind of froze up on me.
I do too.
Okay,
I
yeah.
do too.
Okay.
No.
Well, thank you. Okay, now I can see you again. Thank you for for spending time with me this afternoon. I know, I hope to get back to Duke Energy Center soon. Like I said, I've seen everything from Bear in the Big Blue House to the Stormtroopers at the Star Wars concerts to
I love it.
So I love it. There's something for everyone.
We can't wait to open our doors again to the patrons. It's what gives us our fuel.
Yeah, and I know Art Explosion was rescheduled so people can enjoy things down there. It's just a lovely place downtown. Our downtown is,
I love it.
Lovely. So
thank you very much for having me and doing all that you do for the industry. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
And I think we all do.
Hopefully we'll see you soon. Hopefully I'll be back in that venue soon.
Yes, we will be. We will be.
For those of you who popped on late, there were a few folks who popped on late. This interview will live in its entirety on Facebook right after you log off, so you can view it in its entirety, and I'll be posting it on the website, so you'll be able to see it on our duonstage.com. Tonight, come back at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Kim Jackson, who is my business partner, and she's a reviewer with RDU on Stage. She'll be interviewing Ian Finley and John Wood about what's happening at the high school and how they're changing the way they teach drama and do their dramatic performances. So that'll be a really fun conversation. Thank you again, Michelle, for joining us.
Thank you very
And
much.
stay safe and healthy.
Have a great week.
Yes, you too. Thanks so much. And we'll talk soon.
Definitely. Thank you. Bye-bye.